Hello and a very warm welcome to another edition of Talking Germany, the show where we do just that. And my guest today is a young lady who's widely viewed as one of the most exciting opera singers of her generation. And here she is, the soprano, Anna Prohaska. Anna, thank you very, very much for joining us today here on Talking Germany.
Thank you for inviting me.
The pleasure is all mine. Now, I know, because I've seen Anna perform, that she has a great voice with a formidable range and that she is a beguiling theatrical presence on stage. She's currently a member of the permanent ensemble of the Berlin Staatsoper and has performed with that company's director, Daniel Barenboim, as well as the likes of Claudia Abbado and Sir Simon Rattle. What's more, she talks passionately about music, so we can very much look forward to hearing her views on the following topics. Fresh-voiced and committed. That's what the critics say about Anna Prohaska, who says of herself that her greatest joy is combining acting with singing. Choir of Hope. Berlin's street choir features all sorts of people from the margins of society and demonstrates Anna Prohaska's belief that music is a serious social force. And practice makes perfect, with 17-year-olds now getting driving licences here in Germany. Training areas are at a premium. Anna, who's just done her test, comments. Anna, opera used to be viewed, I can remember the days when it was viewed as elitist and stuffy. And in recent years it has become very popular suddenly. It's increasingly popular. How do you account for that?
I'm just so glad to notice that opera's shifted into the more public eye, and I suppose it's because the classical music industry has managed to focus all its efforts to shift it into the public eye with TV and Facebook and internet, YouTube and everything. That it's actually become much more widely viewed, also by young people.
Exactly. You mentioned Facebook. It is for young people. Opera these days is sexy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I just wish it would be more reflected in the audiences, because you do. I mean, I think it's wonderful that there are audiences members of all ages, but you do mainly see older people, and I really hope that more and more young people will actually come to the opera. And I think it also helps that productions have become a little bit more modern, a bit more filmic. A lot of directors use methods and also allusions or even quote film sequences within opera productions. Yeah.
And I can hear it in the way that you're speaking, and I know when I see you on stage, you are totally enthralled by what you're doing. Just tell us about your enthusiasm, your personal enthusiasm for opera.
Well, I think it's just, for me personally, the best job in the world. It's better than work. No, it is hard work occasionally, but it's also so thrilling to, first of all, work with such amazing conductors and partners on stage, and to make music and create little universes just by maybe just a piano song, a lead and a lead recital, or being part of a huge opera, you know, being a little cogwheel in this huge machinery that is opera, you know. So, yeah, it's just the best job in the world.
Some wonderful scenes there with you, Anna. I really love it. Now, it is a bit of a cliché, I know, but I'm going to exercise the cliché. You have music in your blood. It's true, isn't it?
I do, from both sides. My mum is from England. She's English. She comes from a very prominent music hall tradition in the family. Both her sisters were also singers, and they were the three Ryan girls, basically. And my grandmother was a singer. And on my father's side, it's a little bit more this traditional bourgeois, sort of Viennese music culture that was cultivated there. And my house where I grew up in Vienna was the house where Johann Strauss wrote the Fledermaus, the operetta, the Bat.
Wow.
And also our house in Salzburg. I was close to the Salzburg Festival, and Karajan and Anton Webern and Alban Bergen, people like that used to visit my great-grandparents there and stuff. So our family was always closely connected with music scenes, both in the entertainment industry, but also in the kind of, as you say, the higher cultural sort of music scene.
Did that put you under pressure? Were there high expectations made on you when you were younger?
Definitely once I really started singing professionally, which was when I was 16. But before that, I think my parents would have been perfectly okay with me doing something different. I don't know, becoming an architect or a writer or whatever. But I'm sure it would have been something to do with the arts. So either maybe an art historian or a writer. That I was thinking of becoming one of those two things as well. But once I started, you know, singing my first solos and in the school choir and the church choir and stuff, I sort of thought, wow, I sort of tasted the blood, you know, of the stage, and the virus kind of hit me, it infected me at that point, and the family virus, because my brother's also a singer, so we're all pretty involved in that scene. Yeah.
We're talking about how you've come into it through your family with the music in your blood, but you do, I know, you work very hard at what you do, both on your singing and on the theatrical side of your performances. Yeah. Just tell us how hard you work.
Well, it's actually so important to be ultimately prepared that you basically have to bore the body, basically, by practicing this particular role or song or whatever so much that you don't actually have to think about it anymore, what you do. And even if something unforeseeable happens, that maybe you have a new partner on stage because someone was sick, or, I don't know, something falls down from the decorations or something, and you have to improvise, and the lighting doesn't work or something, that you can draw back upon this ultimate preparation, and that it still manages to look easy and also natural and spontaneous to the audience, and that's so important, you know.
What role do nerves play in all this? Because you're more and more in the spotlight. You have the roles you have are becoming more and more prominent. You're working with a lot of very prominent directors and conductors. Yeah. Nerves
is definitely an issue for me, and I'm still working on coping with the nervous feeling, especially before a premiere, where you know all the critics are sitting there, all the reviewers. And you feel as though you have to be more than perfect, and especially nowadays that there's a lot of, you know, YouTube videos out there of, you know, compiling singers' cracked notes and these kind of things, or also just reviews being accessible for years and years on end. And in earlier days, you know, nothing was older than the newspaper of the day before. And nowadays, you can read something up from 5 years ago, and basically the internet doesn't forget. So I must say, sort of, the more you get pushed into the spotlight, or you move into the spotlight, the more nervous you get. But the good thing is, on the other hand, that through experience, you learn how to cope with the nerves. I'm generally not one of these people that can just go out there and I feel like a fish in water on stage. I'm someone who have got very high expectations on myself, and I'm very nervous. But the great thing is that the feeling goes away, and after a few minutes, and I manage to get used to the environment. But it's always a hump. It's always a hill to climb for me. And yeah. I think it's so important to stress how important music can be on a social level. Also, educating children and people that might not have had these kind of positive hierarchical structures within a family unit or something, that really learn to respect authority in a positive way, like a conductor or someone. I think you can learn so much for life within a kind of musical structure like a chorus or an orchestra.
Let me go off on a little bit of a tangent. We had a guy on the show here not too long ago, a fascinating guy from Venezuela, Edixon Ruiz. Yeah. He's a double bassist with the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra.
I know him, yeah.
You know him? Great guy, yeah? Yeah. And he was telling us about what's going on in what has been going on in Venezuela for, 25 years now. The way that people have used music as a social force. I know you know a lot about that because you've been there, you've seen it firsthand.
I've been there. It was a delight. I was invited by Claudio Abbado and the Venezuelan Youth Orchestra, the Simon Bolivar Orchestra. I got to spend 10 days in Venezuela, in Caracas, which I'd never been to before. I'd never been to South America. And it was very exciting, and it was so moving for me to get to know all these fantastic young kids that were first of all, such great musicians, number one. You know, it's not a kind of charity project where you sort of think, oh, yeah, poor loves, you know, that kind of thing. They're highly professional musicians and really technically very, very good. And it's their greatest dream come true to actually get a job in this highly acclaimed, internationally acclaimed youth orchestra. But one has to remember that there are many, many youth orchestras within the country, not only in the capital, everywhere, where the kids from the poorest possible circumstances find a home, you know, and they might have ended up on the streets or in drugs and crime without this El Sistema, which was founded by this amazing guy, Abreu.
Yeah, he's an incredible guy.
Yeah,
but it does make you wonder if that kind of system can be established in a country that is racked by poverty, like Venezuela. Yeah. It could be established here too in Germany.
Absolutely. I just really hope that it works, or that it would work in Germany, because the thing is, our society and our youth especially, I suppose, and I sound really ancient saying this, but it's totally oversatiated with kind of privileges and I mean, of course, poverty can also be really, really great in Germany as well, and it's actually quite shocking to see in which circumstances people live. But I think people are very much sort of cushioned, and they always have other options and that kind of thing. It's not this kind of totally down to the nitty-gritty like in Venezuela, this kind of existential fear of life. I mean, just people holding guns at your head and sitting in the car and that kind of thing. I mean, it's really not come to this in Germany, but I really, really hope that people, kids, would appreciate this in Germany and tear themselves away maybe from their PlayStations and grab an instrument or sing in a chorus, and just to see how much more satisfying it is.
OK. We've gone off on one tangent, another tangent now. A yes or no question. Are you a good driver?
I think I've become a good driver now, yes.
She thinks she's become a good driver. We'll find out more in just a second. The reason, you might be wondering, the reason that I'm asking is that we're going to get behind the wheel now and veer off in a completely new direction and talk about driving, because for a couple of years now, young Germans have been able to apply for their first driving licence from the age of just 17, which means that they need to practice their driving skills as early as possible. So those special training areas that you find out all over Germany are getting pretty crowded.
Instructor Klaus Wasong directs a driver to circle the track slowly before coming to a stop. It's all in a day's work at the driver's training course near Essen. Klaus Wasong takes his job as the groundskeeper here very seriously. Here, the drivers have to follow road traffic regulations and his rules.
So back up slowly.
I can't see anything. Nothing.
I'll tell you when. Now back up slowly. Turn the steering wheel. Keep going, keep going. Stop, 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 stop. Okay, that was a bit too much, but nothing happened. It's fine.
The first driving lesson with her mother. For 16-year-old Julia, it's a stressful experience. Like most young people, she wants to get her driver's license at 17. Her mother is trying to teach her how to handle the gears, steering and brakes.
When I was 16, I was very keen on driving too. And she enjoys it. We've talked about it. Most people do it like this, and it's better for her to get a feel for it early on.
You have to slowly release the clutch, and when the car is rolling, you have to steer it. There's no other way.
Yeah, but I can't steer.
Until their 18th birthday, teens behind the wheel always have to be accompanied by an adult in Germany.
Good thing the emergency brake works.
Any adult over the age of 30 with a good driving record is allowed to accompany a learner.
There's another one, driving like a crazy person. What on earth is he doing there?
He pulls out his laser pistol to get a good read. If Klaus Wasong had his way, the driver would be ticketed for a traffic violation right here on the training course. After all, rules are rules.
OK, Anna, let's teach our audience a couple of German words here. Did you see that guy at the end of the report, the Platzwart?
Yeah, exactly.
The attendant, wasn't he? Is he sort of a typical kind of German character, would you say?
Definitely, yeah. Everything's all about, pigeonholing in Germany, isn't it? Sort of. That's a cliche, though, obviously.
OK, we had the Platzwart, the attendant, there in the report, and we've also got this Verkehrsübungsplatz, one of those lovely long German words. I grew up and did my early driving in the UK. We would just put put little L plates on the back of the car.
Exactly,
and drive off.
You can just, I think in England, I mean, I've never driven there, but I think you just need to be accompanied by a grown-up, and it doesn't even have to be a particular person. Yeah. And I think in Germany and Austria, where I did my driving license, it's restricted to one person, so you always have to drive with your father or your mother or whatever.
And who was it in your case?
Well, no one, because I wasn't a learner. I just took a kind of crash course. Oh, yeah. So I didn't have this kind of long... Maybe I should have done it like that, because I failed the first time I did my practical test.
It's out in the open now.
Exactly, yeah. But I'm not ashamed of it. I know people, very intelligent people, that failed 3 times before they got their licence, so... Yeah.
Did you ever have a bump?
Oh, yes, definitely through, parking accidents, me against metal pillar and metal pillar won. So.
What do you think about 17-year-olds being out there on the road? I mean, you were talking about the younger generation from your perspective. 17-year-olds on the road, does that make you scared, or is that
not at all? I think it's much less dangerous, because as a young kid, I mean, kids nowadays are so used to multitasking anyway, and car driving is all about multitasking, looking in various mirrors in the front and gear and steering and everything. Then, for example, a 60-year-old who might not have driven for 20 years has a licence. I think what's much more important than I think we should introduce a system where people have to take a kind of a refreshing course, not necessarily a test, but a kind of course or a couple of lessons every 10 years or something, to really get people ship-shape again for the road. Because I think it's also that people are pretty terrified once they haven't driven for a few years. And then especially because cars get faster and also softer, quieter, so you can't actually perceive them as well. So I think that would be a lot more important. I think 17-year-olds would be fine.
Some people like me have very bad habits when they're in cars. They listen to opera music very loudly while they're driving along.
So do I, but also bad pop music as well.
Pop music. OK, if you've enjoyed the show today and you want to find out a little bit more, then you might want to read my blog on the Talking Germany website, and do please post your comments.
If you're into Talking Germany, you can find out more on the internet. Your host, Peter Craven, is keeping a blog on the many shows and guests in the series. Find out more about what happens behind the scenes, gossip, experiences, how the whole show is put together. Just visit blog.dw-world.de/talkinggermany, and you can tell us what you think about the programme there too.
OK, Anna, before we go, let's just talk about a typical day in the life of Anna Prohaska, yeah? Because when I was reading up on you, you're a culture vulture, you're into jogging, you're into reading, but you're also an internet junkie. How does all that fit together?
Totally. I mean, my iPhone has changed my life. I mean, to actually check and write emails while you're on the road or sitting in a cafe or something makes life a lot easier, because when you go home, you can actually really say, OK, this is my private space. I don't have to work anymore. I don't have to sit there and write emails. I can actually do that in the break, between rehearsals or something. And, but there is actually no typical day for us opera singers, for us classical musicians, because rehearsal times are so different. They differ from, having to get up quite early in the morning. For me, 8 o'clock, 8:30 is early, to be at rehearsal at 10.
Not impressed as a journalist. I'm sometimes out there before you are.
Definitely. And sometimes, you start work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or something, and you have to be sometimes fit till the very wee hours in the morning if there's kind of a night concert or whatever. So you have to be very flexible with your daily rhythm and be able to adapt very quickly and be able to sleep at odd times. So, yeah.
OK. And we've seen that you're doing very well in your career, but I'd just like to know what dream do you have? It's so difficult to answer this question, because I've the feeling I've managed so much, and I'd have the feeling of jinxing something if I said I want more or whatever. My Scala debut is coming up in the next December with Don Giovanni. I'm very excited about that. For example, I'm going to sing the Bolshoi in Moscow and in London and the next couple of years, and I'm so excited about the way everything's going. Is there a danger of you? I mean, what happens in your kind of life is that you get sort of what you're doing 3 years ahead at some stage. Is this the situation you're getting into? That's quite scary. The thing is, one dream would be maybe to appear in a big sort of Hollywood movie production or something. Sometimes they have classical musicians or singers or whatever, or jazz singers or something in scenes in the background, and it would be just so great to experience maybe a few days on set with the stars, and with the great director or something. That would be something exactly, and then maybe be invited to the Oscars. That would be fantastic, the Academy Awards. OK. We're going to wrap up now. We've got the quick quiz at the end of the show, our traditional quick quiz. Quick questions, quick answers. Berlin or Vienna, two sexy cities that you know well.
Yeah, Vienna
Choose
for
one.
visiting, definitely, but for living, Berlin.
Solo or choir?
Solo, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Tough question now. Who are better drivers, women or men?
Can't say. Well, then I would say maybe men, because there's more pressure on women, because men make comments and stuff, you know, while you're trying to park and stuff. It makes women nervous, but I think that'll change in the next couple of years. OK,
talking of women, Anna Netrebko or Maria Callas?
Oh, that's so difficult. Maybe Anna Netrebko, because I know her and she's an incredibly nice woman and totally not a diva.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And is opera the future or the past?
The future.
Lovely. That's all we've got time for on this edition of Talking Germany. Our guest today, the delightful Anna Prohaska, a young woman with a great future, I'm sure. If you've enjoyed her company as much as I have, then do come back next week. Until then, bye-bye and tschüss.